Hi, this is Charlie at My Messy Fingers. I'm doing something different. Usually I make my albums for myself, but I have been asked by an online store called Scrap and Create to make a couple of albums for them. So I will admit I'm nervous when I'm making albums. I'm generally doing this for my pleasure, and I kind of go at my own pace, and I don't have an audience. Well, if I make some mistakes, please be forgiving. This is a bit new for me. So what I'm going to make today for them is an 8x8 album. I have my own style for putting the album together. I'm going to share that with you. You can do the same thing if you want, or you can do whatever you're comfortable with. At the end, we're all going to be in the same spot. But this is how I make my album. I personally, I will admit, I get frustrated trying to fold those hidden hinge gullies and valleys, and it just doesn't work for me. So anyway, so I do this. So here's what I have. You're gonna want to get a piece of a Tyvek envelope. You can get them from almost any scrap, or Staples, Office Max, Office Depot, they carry them. They do not carry them, to the best of my knowledge, in single envelope packets. They carry them in a bundle. So they can be, if I remember right, I spent about 20 bucks on the last packet that I got, and it's lasting me for ages. These envelopes are very sturdy. They have a great deal of flexibility. They have no tear value in them at all. And I like to use them for binding my album together. So what happens is that the album, when this is bent, this absorbs the energy, and your chipboard is turning on this, not the cardstock. And the cardstock is not running along the sharp edge of the chipboard. So it's my preference. It's my way of keeping minimal wear and tear on the most flexible of all joints in any album. So what you're going to need will be 2 chipboard pieces that measure 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, one piece that measures 8 1/4 by 8 1/2. And then you're going to need the Tyvek. Now, I might have this spelt wrong. There might be a C in there. But you're going to need to cut 2 pieces that measure 8 1/4 by 2 inches. And you're going to score each of those at 7/8 and 1 1/8. What I want is a 1/4 inch gusset in between the pieces that I'm going to be putting together. You're going to tape along this. And then as we put this together, we're going to run this piece of chipboard right along where that score line is. So in the end, what you're going to get is something that looks like this. You've got a 1/4 inch gap in between. And I'll explain the gap as we go, why I want it a 1/4 inch. Works for me. So what we're going to do, now if you've got these cut and ready to go, because you can always pause the video and go get that done, is I'm going to start with the spine. So I'm going to line up on the top and the bottom of that score line, and I'm going to press. It is super important, at least to me, that you burnish this real well. You want to get those air bubbles out of that tape. You don't need this bubbling up on you. Now I'm going to bring in one of the side panels. I want to line this up on my grid here so that they're all laying the same way. I'm going to line this up on that score line. Oops, struggling here just a little bit. always seems to be the case, especially when you have an audience and I'm not used to it. All right, so there. Burnish really, really well. This will be the outside so that your cardstock is floating over this. Now, the reason I like to have a 1/4 inch gusset is this is going to take a lot of filler. It's going to take your cardstock, it's going to take some other pieces that are going to go slide in here. You want room to get that burnish down in there, so then when this folds, by the time it has all that extra paper in there, you're going to have a nice secure hinge. So let's go ahead and let's get the second piece. I'm going to line this up. I want to make sure this is all even. I can see here I'm off about a 1/16 of an inch on the bottom. Now, I'm terrible. I don't like torn paper and I don't like replacing things. So I use a product that's called Undo. This is how I get the stuff off my paper. And I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. You can get it on Amazon. Most online stores carry it. But get that tape nice and gooey. And it works great. It doesn't affect your pictures if you have to lift a picture. It dries very quickly, amazingly quick. So now I'm going to line that back up again. Make sure these are all even. Get that back on that score line. Give it a little gentle tug so that it pulls there. And then I'll go back and burnish. So if you're using this, I think it's great. If you don't, however you're separating your pages is really your preference. Okay, better alignment. So now I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to drop this right in there. Okay, now we're going to take and put the other chipboard panel on. Okay, square it up. I'm going to start at the bottom, measure at the top. Okay, so that's how I start my album base. It doesn't matter what size the album is that you're going to make. How I do this will always be the same, whether it's a 9 by 8 or a 10 by 7. It doesn't matter. This hinge for me has always worked. I've never had an issue with it. I don't get the tear or the break because I'm allowing for room for flexibility, especially when this gusset starts to get filled in with cardstock, as you'll see when we build the album. So there you be for now. Stay tuned for the next video.